Last night, I was sitting alone in the Emergency Broadcast Control Center, 3 floors underground in the heart of downtown. It was 2:47 a.m. when everything changed. Let me back up. I've been working the night shift at the city's emergency alert system for about 6 months. The job was simple: monitor weather alerts, Amber Alerts, and the occasional test of the system. Most nights, nothing happened. Just me, for walls of blinking servers, and the hum of air conditioning that never quite drowned out the silence. But last night was different. I arrived at 11 p.m., like always, descending the concrete stairwell that smelled of mildew and old coffee. Marcus, the evening shift guy, was already packing up when I walked in. He looked pale, distracted. When I asked if anything had happened during his shift, he just shook his head and left without the usual small talk. The door sealed behind him with a heavy thud that echoed through the bunker. The first few hours passed normally. I made my rounds, checked the backup generators, updated the system logs. At 1:30 a.m., I was halfway through a convenience store sandwich when the primary monitor flickered. Not unusual. These systems were built in the 80s, held together with duct tape and prayers. But then I heard it. A notification I'd never heard before. A low, pulsing tone came through the speakers. Not the familiar emergency alert sound, but something older, deeper. The screen displayed a message I'd never seen in training. Legacy protocol activated, clearance level, restricted. My hands were already reaching for the manual when the message changed. Incoming transmission, origin, station 7. Station 7. I pulled up the facility directory with shaking fingers. According to the records, Station 7 was decommissioned in 1962, demolished in 1978. It shouldn't exist. The transmission began. At first, it was just static. Then, beneath the white noise, I heard breathing. Slow, deliberate, like someone was standing right next to the microphone. A voice emerged, distorted and wrong, like it was being played backward and forward simultaneously. This is Station 7. Emergency protocol initiated. Do not respond. Do not acknowledge. Do not look at the cameras. The cameras. My eyes snapped to the security feed monitors mounted above my desk. 12 screens showing the stairwell, the parking garage, the street entrance, and various corridors. All of them displayed empty hallways and static rooms bathed in fluorescent light. Except Camera 9. Camera 9 pointed at the archives room down the hall, a place I'd never been, never had clearance to enter. The door was open. In the training, they told us that door was always locked, that only supervisors had the key. But it was open, and standing in the doorway was a figure. My breath caught. The figure was perfectly still, wearing what looked like an old civil defense uniform from the Cold War era. But there was something wrong with the proportions, like the body was too long, the arms hanging just a bit too low. The voice on the transmission spoke again. Station 7 to all units. The broadcast is live. Repeat. The broadcast is live. If you're hearing this, it's already too late to evacuate. Remain in your station. Do not leave your post. I grabbed my phone. No signal. 3 floors underground, we never had signal, but we had a landline for emergencies. I picked up the receiver. Dead air. That's when I noticed the main broadcast board was active. The system was sending out a signal, but I hadn't initiated anything. My fingers flew across the keyboard, trying to override it, but every command was denied. The screen flashed. Manual override disabled. Legacy protocol in effect. The transmission continued, and now there were more voices, overlapping, speaking in unison. This is not a test. This is not a drill. If you are receiving this message, remain calm. Do not exit your home. Do not look outside. Do not trust anyone who claims to be from the authorities. We are experiencing a Class 7 information hazard event. Exposure results in. The audio cut out. The silence that followed was worse than any sound. I looked back at Camera 9. The figure had moved. It was closer now, halfway down the corridor, still perfectly motionless. But it was facing the camera. Facing me. I couldn't see its face clearly through the grainy feed, but I could see enough. Where I should be, there were just shadows. Deep, impossible shadows that seemed to move independently of the light. My training kicked in. I pulled out the emergency shutdown procedure binder, hands trembling as I flipped through the laminated pages. There had to be something about legacy protocols, about unauthorized transmissions. But every page I turned showed text that seemed to shift and rearrange itself before my eyes. That's when I heard the footsteps. They were coming from above, from the stairwell. Heavy, deliberate, too slow to be natural. One step every 5 seconds, perfectly timed. Getting closer. The monitors flickered. Now, camera 8 showed the figure. It was in the main corridor, closer to my control room. How had it moved without appearing on the cameras in between? The transmission crackled back to life. To the operator on duty, you've been selected for continuation. The broadcast must not stop. Station 7 has been waiting. We've all been waiting. Your shift doesn't end at 7 a.m. It doesn't end at all. The footsteps were right outside now. I could hear them through the reinforced door, accompanied by a sound like wet breathing, like something was pressed against the other side. I did the only thing I could think of. I hit the emergency beacon, the one that alerts the fire department, the police, everyone. Surely someone would come. Someone had to come. The door handle began to turn. I scrambled backward, knocking over my chair. The manual said the door could only be opened with a security card and a 6-digit code. There was no way anyone could just... It opened. Standing in the doorway was Marcus. Same uniform, same face. But his eyes were wrong, completely black, reflecting nothing. When he spoke, his voice had that same distorted quality as the transmission. You can't leave. The broadcast has to continue. Someone has to stay. Someone always has to stay. Behind him, I could see more figures filling the hallway, all wearing the same civil defense uniforms, all with the same empty eyes. I'm recording this now on the backup system. If you're hearing this, if you're the next person assigned to this shift, don't take this job. Don't come to this building. The emergency broadcast system isn't just for sending messages. Sometimes it receives them, and what it receives wants out. The figures are in the room now. They're standing around me in a circle. They're not moving, just watching. The transmission is still playing, but now I understand the words. They're not a warning. They're an invitation. My shift ends in 4 hours. But Marcus was right. It doesn't really end. Not here. Not ever. If you're listening to this, and it's after 3 a.m., check your radio. Check your TV. You might hear the tone. That low, pulsing tone. And if you do, don't respond. Don't acknowledge. And whatever you do, don't look at your cameras. Because Station 7 is always broadcasting. And now it's broadcasting through me.